will also have comprehensive discussion on major global, regional and sub-regional issues as well as issues relating to social and economic matters. The summit meeting is expected to adopt a final document, which is a rather lengthy document, listing the movement's position on all important international issues.
The forthcoming 16th NAM Summit in Tehran is the third NAM Summit to be addressed by Dr. Manmohan Singh after the NAM Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt in 2009 and Havana in Cuba in 2006. 50 other heads of governments and states will also participate at the Tehran Summit, while 80 countries will be headed by their foreign ministers. Among other notable world leaders scheduled to attend the summit include UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, Egyptian President Mohammad Morsi, and Supreme Leader of the host country Ayatollah Khomeini. Iran is keen to host the forthcoming NAM Summit to prove its international position in spite of Western sanctions against it. On the sidelines of the NAM Summit, Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is also scheduled to hold bilateral talks with the leaders of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Egypt. Dr. Singh is also expected to hold discussions with the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini. A full-fledged bilateral discussion is also expected with Iran, where the use of Chabahar port of Iran by India and trade of items including hydrocarbons will definitely come. Snehashi Shur, Doordarshan News, New Delhi.
Well, and to discuss the 16th NAM Summit, joining us in the studio, Dr. Bhishma Narayan Singh. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Former Union Minister. You were Union Minister for Parliamentary Affairs during the 9th summit that New Delhi hosted, and also have been governor of various northeastern states which have international borders. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And we're also joined by Mr. R.L. Narayan, former ambassador of India, served in many countries, and former senior diplomat. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. We'll start with you, Dr. Singh. Firstly, I mean, looking from the 9th summit onwards, where we were hosting it, to now, of course, then the relevance of NAM was quite significant because it was a bipolar world still. But now people are really talking about what is the relevance of NAM, and they keep asking the same question. How would you answer them?
So far, I understand the relevance is there because issues of those days, there are many issues which are unresolved. Peace, security, many issues. And India's position has been since beginning. India has a glorious past. India can play peace diplomacy. That has been the reputation of India all through. Okay. And Pandit Nehru, Panditji was, as has been already mentioned, in your, they have shown in yes, we have just, we were watching very closely that the founder members were Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, President Nasser, Marshal Tito, and President Sukarno. But others were also there. So actually the fact is, if I travel down the memory lane, which we say
briefly, sir.
Yeah, briefly, yes. In 1951, when Panditji and Jawaharlal met, then this Panchil, the idea of Panchil, it has been extended in Bandung conference.
Okay.
Not 5, now 10 one can say. It has become 10, but 5 principles were there.
Okay.
And the Panditji definitely was the moving spirit behind it. After Jawaharlal also did, without him, no Panchil would have been, that policy wouldn't have come.
True.
And in that, if you'll see, the first thing is that mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty first. And you are seeing the global situation.
Right.
Today also, just therefore I am mentioning it. The second was non-aggression. Then the third was no interference in internal domestic affairs of that country. Like that, and peaceful coexistence, all these were there. It has been extended in Bandung conference, it has become 10.
Right.
So if you see that, issues have also changed. The main thing in those days was fight against colonialism, imperialism.
Right.
That is almost over. Cold War, you have seen. Then, now the main issue is where earlier, as you have said, that there is unipolar world, it seems like that.
Okay.
There is no two power blocks in that way, which was there in those days. But NAM's relevance is there.
Yes, you mentioned in the terms of Panchsheel, the NAM's relevance still exists because these principles are eternal, and this is what NAM has adopted.
120 countries are members.
Absolutely.
And mostly they are developing countries. So
we'll take your point, sir. But Mr. Narayan, I mean, these are three different important continents, Asia, Africa and Latin America, and the chairmanship seems to be moving from one to the other. In today's world where regionalism plays a significant role, how would you see that if NAM has to readapt itself and revitalize itself, do you think that it should become a grouping of smaller groupings, so to speak, regional groupings?
Well, the argument is made that because the Cold War is over, non-alignment has lost its relevance. But, as Dr. Singh pointed out, 120 countries, which is 2/3 of the membership of the United Nations, still find it relevant to be members of NAM. And also, you might have noticed that an attempt was made to, from the United States, to say that, Tehran should not be hosting this summit. Efforts were made to dissuade Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, from attending the summit. So you don't seek to delegitimize an institution which is not relevant. So I think in terms of international realities today, NAM is relevant. And certainly the fact that so many countries are attending, so many heads of state are attending, quite apart from the multilateral aspect, it also provides a forum for very important bilateral meetings, as indeed you had mentioned Dr. Manmohan Singh, our Prime Minister, would be having bilateral meetings with our neighboring countries. So all these are important aspects.
Would you say that the pressure is only put on those countries, and including the UN Secretary General, not to attend this summit because Iran is hosting the summit? Otherwise they may not have put in too much pressure, wouldn't they?
Well, yes, there are some big ticket issues, newsy issues, Syria, situation in Syria certainly, Iran, because a lot of pressure is being brought on Iran through international sanctions
because of its
on the nuclear issue and so on. And of course between Egypt and Iran, not to forget, because they have not had diplomatic relations since the 1970s, since the Shah of Iran. So that is a very important meeting where ground will be broken. So certainly those there are many issues, but as Foreign Secretary Mr. Ranjan Mathai had pointed out, there are many other issues where NAM gives a voice to developing countries. Issues like global climate change, issues like terrorism, issues like reform of the global institutions of governance, the UN system and so on. So there are many issues on which NAM will have its say, and where its say will be important.
We need to take a quick commercial break. There's a lot more to discuss. Do stay with us.
For a happy and productive life, one needs peace of mind. That is why I chose LIC. LIC adds the magical notes of security to life. Then why go anywhere else?
घर खरीदना हर एक का सपना होता है। ब्रिगेडियर साहब का भी यही सपना था। पर जब ब्रिगेडियर साहब खुद के घर का पोजेशन लेने गए तो
देखिए, फिलहाल तो आपका घर तैयार नहीं है।
जब बातें हो जाए झूठी और दिल अपना टूटे।
सोचा था रिटायरमेंट के बाद अपने घर जाऊंगा, पर पूरे पैसे भरने पर भी समय पर घर नहीं मिल रहा है। ऊपर से बढ़ती हुई महंगाई का हवाला देकर तय की हुई रकम से ज्यादा वसूल कर चुके हैं। ये तो सरासर धोखा है ना जी।
ब्रिगेडियर साहब कंज्यूमर फोरम गए। फैसला ये हुआ कि अदा की हुई रकम पर बिल्डर सालाना 12% ब्याज दे और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के मुताबिक जो सुविधाएं नहीं दी उसके बदले वो पैसे वापस करे। जागो ग्राहक जागो।
Welcome back. Well, Dr. Singh, how would you look at Iran hosting this summit? Because one, there is the pressure from the West, so they call it the West, the pressure that US and the EU bring on them, which are sanctions, etc. Because of the nuclear program, and there seems to be some sort of isolation of Iran in terms of their payments. They are an important provider of oil, energy supplier to the world. What statement are they going to make by hosting this summit? 120 countries coming there. They are saying that, we are relevant, we are not being isolated.
Yes, they are relevant, and they are also, in one way, I can say that the goal which was set for NAM is still there. Otherwise, the pressure which was being mounted, this conference won't have taken place in Tehran.
Right.
Now, I think in this conference, the most important thing will be that their point of view will be also highlighted very much.
I'm sure they'll use it as an opportunity to highlight their point.
Highlight their point of view, because in many places, I think they did not get such opportunity which Tehran has got this time.
Right.
And I think the chairmanship will be also of Iran.
Right.
And it was Egypt and then Iran.
Right.
So in my view, the goal which was set by the founding leaders of NAM, that will find place very much. And in the resolution, I think we will see that also. And this will also help if it is properly interpreted, because in the United Nations, the presence of the NAM members is very, very high.
Right.
I mean, it is a different story that some of them are this side, that side. It happens. It happens. But there will be, it can be focused there also.
Fair enough.
Apparently. And peace is the main goal, security is the main goal.
Okay.
So world peace is necessary.
Okay.
And if the issue of Syria or
Right.
Iran,
Right.
if these issues are not sorted out amicably, peacefully,
Okay.
by peaceful means, by democratic means, then I think the meaning of United Nations also, there already criticism is there in United Nations, it has to be expanded, more representation should be there, already it is there.
So, Mr. Narayan, the fact that Egypt has been the president, holding the chairmanship of NAM, and now it will go on to Iran. And during this period of time, we've seen what has come to be known as the Arab uprising or the Arab awakening or whatever. And they've said that it's very important what is happening in North Africa and West Asia or the Middle East. Would it be the central theme, you would say, for NAM over the next few years?
Well, I think certainly for this summit, there will be
because Syria is currently the hot
Syria obviously is a hot button issue. Iran itself, Iran is, they put out a declaration saying that nuclear energy for all and nuclear weapons for none. So that is a theme which they want to push, and of course the the evolving relationship between Egypt in its new avatar. And Iran itself. So these are, I think, important things. And I totally agree with Dr. Singh when he said that what we've had so far is perhaps a one-sided discourse on many of these issues, on Syria, on Iran, and so on. And certainly this would be an opportunity for the other side, to manifest itself. Not to say that this will be, the NAM will be a totally, anti-story, because there are divisions within NAM itself. Qatar, Saudi Arabia are attending, and Syria, as you know, was expelled from the OIC, just a few days ago. So,
well, Assad himself is not attending, so he's sending a minister, the deputy for him.
Yes, understandable. Right. I think, considering the situation there. So what we will get is a more balanced view, a view which represents, of course, the Iranian view, but which also represents the views of many other countries. I mean, for example, India, which has traditionally been an important voice in NAM. We have a point of view on Syria, we have a point of view on Iran, which we will certainly put forward, and hopefully that will get reflected too.
Right. Earlier, most of these nations, in terms of non-alignment, used to take what was called a moral stand, but being aligned is more of a pragmatic stand, one would say. In today's foreign policy, in terms of, the economic agenda, it all seems to be more pragmatic. And for instance, India's foreign policy is towards energy needs. And one would see that there could be some alignment in that respect, and that works for every country. So in that respect, do you think that NAM itself, the whole non-aligned, needs to be changed a little bit?
Definitely it is changed in my view.
It's no longer
it is changed because 55% population. NAM countries, 55%, and see the development of developed countries and then NAM countries. So it's a big gap, and this globalization is not working well in the NAM countries. So economic issues are also going to be most important issues which will be discussed, and I think the members of the NAM countries will be very, very assertive on this point, so far I understand.
For instance, let's say Egypt now is in need of finance because it needs to redevelop itself, and of course whether the finance was forthcoming from the West, but it's actually going to China first to get finance. So the shift seems to be quite clear and in fact Iran has been making that statement, saying that the West is basically has a financial crisis. They really have no strength to talk about in that respect. I mean, I'm paraphrasing really what they are saying, but the point is that the shift moves to China, and in the rise of China, could that be an area of discussion in terms of our own security interests as far as India is concerned?
No, our interest will be safeguarded in my view, because our Prime Minister is himself an economist, and this is the third NAM conference he is attending, and India's voice will be heard. And so far our policy is concerned, even with Iran, I think the West, they also realize about it, and India is not going to deviate from that policy. There is consistency all through in our policy, all through. Okay. And India has taken leading part since Panditji's time. Indira Gandhi, when she was the chairman, a big slogan was raised at that time. I tell you, I still remember. It was the historic biggest peace movement. That NAM conference, 9th NAM conference, which took place in Delhi, it was called the biggest
peace movement. You're saying.
So that has been our role. We have been always peacemaker. We believe in that. Our philosophy is like that. So therefore, for peace, development is necessary.
Absolutely.
So our Prime Minister's sideline meetings, all these meetings, I think from our point of view, I think our role will be recognized there. Right. Will be important role.
We need to take another short commercial break. Do stay with us. You're watching a discussion on the 16th NAM Summit.
मिस्टर और मिसेस शर्मा ने कार ली लोन पर और किश्तों में चुकाने का वादा भी किया। कुछ दिन तो अच्छे गए, पर जब मिस्टर शर्मा किश्त नहीं चुका पाए तो बैंक ने उनकी कार जब्त कर ली, और जब मिस्टर शर्मा किश्त चुकाने गए तो
आपकी गाड़ी तो हमने बेच दी। सॉरी सर। जब वादे हो जाए झूठे और दिल अपना टूटे। सुबह उन्होंने हमारी गाड़ी बिना हमें नोटिस दे बेच दी।
शर्मा जी कंज्यूमर फोरम गए, वहाँ फैसला यही हुआ कि बैंक उनको 1.5 लाख रुपया यानी कार की मार्केट वैल्यू, और जब से कंप्लेन लिखवाई है तब से अब तक की रकम पर पूरे 9% ब्याज दे। जागो ग्राहक जागो। मैं तो सारी मैसेज पढ़ूंगी। मैं भी बता रहा हूँ।
तू कब आया बोलूं?
अब तो मोनू के कॉलेज वापस जाने का टाइम आ गया है। जब भी कॉलेज जाने की बात करो, इसका चेहरा उतर जाता है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है।
नहीं, नया स्टूडेंट है ना, तो सीनियर तो रैगिंग करते ही होंगे। चिंता वाली कोई बात नहीं।
चिंता की बात है भाई साहब। रैगिंग जैसे गंभीर मामले को नजरअंदाज मत कीजिए। एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर पे कॉल करें और उनसे सलाह और सहयोग लें।
एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर 1800-180-5522 पर कॉल करें।
Welcome back. Well, on the sidelines of the Tehran non-aligned summit, External Affairs Minister S.M. Krishna met the Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi, and both leaders, they spoke of peace and stability in West Asia as well as a host of bilateral issues. Well, Mr. Narayan, let's talk about the bilaterals now. The Prime Minister is going to have first, he's going to meet the Ayatollah Khamenei and Ahmadinejad. How important is this in terms of, first of all, the pressure that was put on India, to refrain from closer contact with Iran, but India stood out and said that, this is necessary for our own needs.
Well, I think you had raised an issue about morality and pragmatism, and I think in India we have, we have managed to combine pragmatism with morality. And I think the meeting with Iran is important. Certainly it is highly important because Iran is second largest supplier now of oil to India. And Foreign Secretary is having a trilateral meeting on the sidelines of the summit on development of the Chabahar port, Afghanistan, Iran and India, which is certainly of very great importance to us, strategic importance to us, because it gives an alternate line of communication to Afghanistan, bypassing Pakistan. So these are important issues, and I think certainly these will be discussed. But I think it's not fair to posit morality against pragmatism, because relations with countries do not stand and fall on single issue positions.
So you think the moral point of view still stands?
Yes, certainly. I think we have been very, very consistent in our positions on Iran, on Syria, and in general.
Right, and well, what is our position in terms of Syria? The government says that we are not in favor of an externally induced regime change. We would like to have an internally process that comes from within. And pretty much with Iran, we support sanctions that are from the United Nations and not unilaterally imposed sanctions. Those are the positions. So India will make those positions clear.
Yes.
But if we move on to the other bilaterals, the Prime Minister is also meeting the Pakistan President Asif Ali Zardari. What can we expect from that meeting?
Well, I think this, there have been a series of meetings. President Zardari was in India just a few weeks ago, where he visited the shrine. And this is a continuum of meetings, which has been very encouraging in the last few months. But it is, one should not expect breakthrough meetings at this stage. This is a process. And when leaders meet in such circumstances, it is important there will be progress, but it will be incremental progress.
Right. Dr. Singh, what about the meeting with Sheikh Hasina, the Bangladesh Prime Minister?
As you are aware, our relation with Bangladesh today is very good. But because of this Assam incidents that has taken place, I was Assam governor also when these problems were at the height, one can say, at the top issue, the infiltration issue. Bangladesh is coming from across the border, and the student community by and large, from primary school to university, all participating in the movement. It was a very, I think after independence, it was a youth movement. I had never seen such a powerful youth movement. And for 4-5 years it was going on, but issue was settled. So that issue, that document will also help Assam Accord in my view, and it was decided that for identification of foreign nationals, that because they will discuss definitely this
issue will definitely come up,
because they had to identify.
And finally, what about the meeting with Morsi, because this is the first meeting that our Prime Minister will be having with the Egyptian President?
I think it will be also good, because traditionally the people of Egypt or government of Egypt, because our policy is not to interfere in internal affairs. So the present government also, and the present president, I think it will be also very cordial atmosphere, and I think it will be successful dialogue between these two leaders.
Right. And finally, Mr. Narayan, the presence of Ban Ki-moon, what does it signify? I mean, the importance that the United Nations would be giving to this meeting. You said that 2/3 of, we are already the strength, 2/3 of the UN.
Well, NAM is the second largest, the international body with the second largest membership after the United Nations. And Mr. Ban Ki-moon was under some pressure from
but can NAM push for reform of the United Nations, for instance?
Well, certainly we hope so. That will be certainly one of the issues which will be discussed, and that process hopefully will go forward to some measure.
Right, we leave it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Late Edition. Well, people may debate the relevance of NAM, comparing it to its original objectives, but relevance changes with time. Havana and Cairo, they looked at ways to revitalize the movement to influence international relations today. And Iran will most likely use the Tehran summit to fight the US and the EU, their unilateral sanctions. And non-allied countries of old, they could take a moral position on international issues, but times have changed. India's growth needs cheap and reliable energy supply, which is reflected in our foreign policy. Similarly, the 120 nations of NAM each have issues that often make the final document a very lengthy one. In fact, it was 510 paragraphs in 2009. Let's hope this time it's shorter. Thanks very much for watching. Namaskar.
Late Edition was brought to you by